Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. Do Hi-Fi fuses work? Let's take a look at this. So we've got basically two regular fuses on the left, and we've got a gold and a silver fuse. This could perhaps be rhodium, I'm not sure. So I believe that, yes, I believe that fuses do work. But most importantly, that you need gear that just where the fuse function just isn't like to protect the unit, if you know what I mean. It's a part of the whole sound signal, and not all gear is built in the same way. You know, sometimes you just have a safety fuse function which isn't a part of the sound signal. And also very important is that not all gear is good enough to show you the difference. So you could be messing around with some really low quality gear where it just doesn't matter if you change the fuse or not. So and also, even if it is, you still as a user have to put that gear to proper use, you know, so it can flex its muscles. So the bigger problem that I see is that it isn't just a question of does it affect the sound, but how does it affect the sound, you know? So are you really improving it, or are you just compensating? So I can give a great example of this. I tried fuses in a couple of units, like for example the Macintosh MA6900 integrated that I had about 10 years ago, and a couple of other things like my YBA amp and some other things. And I noticed that there was a very big difference in sound priority. And it was almost like frighteningly much that that I wouldn't really like to listen to that with regular fuses on regular gear. For like, if I had to own the gear forever, or half a year or a year, I felt it was too much of a thing that dominated, that put its own influence on the gear. And yeah, you know, it could make stuff sound a lot less harsh. It could remove muddiness. It could make sound a lot more clear. But usually, you know, usually there was a drawback to getting this boosted sound. But then again, you know, I got used to my Macintosh MA6900. I thought it still was a bit thin, a bit mechanical, a bit vulgar in sound. I liked it to start with. You know, the first, I think, 2 months I had it with the new fuse. I thought, wow, now it's finally playing bass. Now it's finally showing some love, and now it's it's swimming in bass in a good way, and it's got this like boosted bass. So I really want to turn up the volume now. You know, that was cool. That was cool. But I also realized that it was a lower level of warmth, meaning that the sound stage became a tiny bit more two-dimensional. So that was good. You know, I then changed to a silver fuse, and yeah, it became better. You know, it became more clear, more punchy, the more drive. But again, you know, I felt that it was a tiny bit plasticky. Again, tiny bit two-dimensional. It just didn't do it, didn't solve the problem at a high enough level. But you know, you can. I think it's still good to get hi-fi fuses, because you can listen to the standard crap sound, change the priority, go back to the original sound. You know, and I have a bit more to say about it. So this is how I see it. Most fuses, and I'm not counting the ones in the picture, it's just a random picture. Just like most fuses that I've tried, I feel that the quality of metal that's used is often 1, 2, 3 out of 10. Perhaps it gets up to like 4 or 5. And that's the big problem I have with fuses, is that it's a surface way of solving a problem so that this thing dominates the unit. Where the unit, everything in the unit doesn't really get to say what it wants to say, because this thing is like at the start and at the end of the signal. So everything that this thing does goes like whoop, through it all in, and then whoop, through it all back. And that's good enough if you have a really good fuse. So I think it's just a question of trying different fuses, figuring out, okay, which company is best. I tried AHP fuses and some other. And to start with, I was like, yeah, tonality, warmth, right on, turn up that volume. Like, great. But then it just never really had that way of cutting through, so you got the warmth and you get the way of cutting through, the layering, the 3D. It's like, you're just like, bias it this way, bias it that way. It's the same problem I have with my, I have a circuit breaker that's connected to my power plug in the wall. I can hear that damn thing every day, and I kind of regret it, getting that. But to start with, it was like, wow, now I'm finally getting some bass. That's also one of the reasons why I can play in a room that's that big. It like fills out 10 extra square meters, but in the end, almost every time I try a product that gives me extra bass, that boosts the sound somehow, it's almost always at a cost. Now, I would still like to own a Macintosh amplifier and then do this thing, where I have a gold fuse and a silver fuse. And, I can listen to the standard fuse for like a half a year. And then after that, I'll probably listen to like 2 or 3 months with a gold fuse. And then like 1-2 months with a silver fuse. And then go back to the original. So I think it's a great thing to have that, because then it's like having almost 3 different amplifiers, or like 3, to put it into proper context, it's like having 3 different models on 3 different levels from that same company. I think that's more accurate. So yeah, do it. That it's fun. It's really a lot of fun, and when you do it properly, this is what I discovered. Especially when you have really good gear, this is what I discovered. Having a neutral fuse, such as this one here, to the left and to the right, these two here. If you have these 2 fuses, these are very neutral. But they can become neutral and really poor quality. That can be a big problem. But what I see is, if you can get this thread inside to be a very high quality silver, I'm not talking about normal silver, I'm talking about high quality silver. It's not a lot to ask for from a company. Just getting that in a high quality silver, that can change the fuse, so you get this like quality from like the gold and the silver, plus it's just a tiny bit more sophisticated. That's what I would like to see. I was actually surprised when I saw the fuses that Audionote put in their units. They weren't the worst fuses in the world, not at all, but they also weren't these audiophile fuses. It was like an in-between thing, where you had like this thing on the right here. So you had like a neutral fuse, so everything in the Audionote unit did its thing then you had like an above standard something in it, that looked a tiny bit better than normal, And I'm just surprised that, wow, that's how AudioNote did it, and it kind of makes sense, I just wish that AudioNote and all other companies would use like a really sophisticated thread of silver in it, or gold or whatever. I think that would actually make things neutral in a way that's really high quality, instead of just having like a normal piece of metal that just barely does the job, I think that's how I see it, Tell me, maybe you've tried some fuses and maybe you've got some experience tinkering with it. Do you have anything to comment? You can just write it down below at the video. So yeah, that's what I have to say, and if you could like and subscribe, that would help me. Have a nice day.